Hey everyone, what I'd like to do today is talk about these performance thumbsticks. These are thumbsticks which are sold by KontrolFreek. I became aware of these products a few years ago, but I only bought them a month or so ago from AliExpress. And I've been using them all the time when playing Call of Duty, when playing Warzone. You can see that I have a set here on my GameSir controller there. So what I'd like to do in this video is just talk about what these are, talk about how you set them up, how you add them to your controller, how you install them, and then I can do a test and we can talk about my own experience of using these over the last month. Okay, so you can see I've got 3 sets here, and the ones here are the FPS Freek Galaxy. These are mid-rise and high-rise, and what they mean by that is that the height here is mid, and the height for the right thumbstick there is high. Next up, we have the Modern Warfare product. And once again, like before, it says it increases kill-death ratio by 26% on average. That sounds like a made-up number. I'm not sure how they're coming to that. But these ones are mid-rise. So they're a little bit different in that both of them are mid. You can see that they're exact same size. One is not bigger than the other. And then finally, we have Call of Duty Black Ops, mid-rise and high-rise. And you can see here that these are different. This one is a lot higher. The one on the right is a lot higher. So whether you buy a mid or a high, you kind of have to test it yourself. You'll see a lot of comments on Amazon on the sales pages of these products, and a lot of people swear by the mid. Some people prefer low, high. Everyone's got a different preference. And you can see here, even just with the 3 products here, they all come in different colors, different sizes, different designs. You can see these ones are flat, whilst the Freek Galaxy kind of sinks in. And you kind of have to buy a few sets, in my opinion, to find the one that you like. Now, it's worth noting that most people consider these products to be disposable. And by that, I mean, if you're playing your game a lot, if you're putting in a lot of hours into gameplay, then after 6 months, after a year, these might not offer the same grip that they did before. I mean, they're made with rubber. So over time, it's just going to wear away. And at that point, you kind of have to replace them. Now, that sounds like a bad thing, but as I'll show you, these are very cheap to buy. So just consider it something that you just replace every 6 months or a year. Okay, let's jump over to the website. I have no affiliation with KontrolFreek. I've never spoke to them. They've never sent me anything, but I wanted to show you the website just to kind of illustrate that this is what they do. This is their whole business model, that they sell precision thumbsticks for different games consoles, for Xbox, for PlayStation, for Nintendo Switch, and they've got lots of different products. And the reason why they've got all these different colors and designs and shapes and sizes is because most of them are designed for different games, which makes sense. It makes sense that, for example, down here, you can see these ones are designed for sports, for playing FIFA, etc. This is for the Steam Deck, etc. as well. And it makes sense that they've got different products for, different people, when you can see that they sell it, all these performance thumbsticks based on all the different consoles, first-person shooter, action, adventure, and then you've got no-slip thumb grips. And ultimately, what they're trying to do with all of this is just to improve the controller, to just make it a better experience. So let's look at the ones that I've got here. You can see that I've got the FPS Freek Galaxy here, £8.63 here in the UK. Again, mid-rise adds 6.5 millimeters of added height. It says there's a 2025 edition here. I'm not sure what the difference is. I'm not sure. But I think I've got the original model. I did order it in 2025, so I may have the new model. I really don't know, if I'm honest. Next up, we've got the Modern Warfare ones. 6.5 millimeters. So the original one over here was the Freek Galaxy. You can see one was 6.5 millimeters, but the other one was 10 millimeters. These ones are both 6.5. And then finally, we've got Black Ops. And where's the description of that? It's maybe down here. This one adds 11.8 to the high. So they're all different. They all give you different heights. and you know, they're all designed for different games. And you can see the price here in the UK, £8.63. And there's no price on this one just now, but it's usually about £9.99, which is what we've got here, £9.49. Price does go up and down a little bit. And if you look online, you'll see that there's so many different versions of these. The prices go up and down. You'll see them on sale a lot, but there's so many to choose from. Now, I'm listing Amazon here because it's, you know, if you just want to buy them, you want them delivered quickly, that's the way to go. But it's worth noting that on AliExpress it is a lot cheaper. I think I paid about £2 or so. It was like $2.50 or $2. But right now it's down to 99 cents. So for $10, you could get like 10 different sets sent out to you, all the different models, and you could just find whichever one works for you. So it's a relatively low cost for you to buy these. And the reason I'm saying that is that that's kind of how I approached all of this as well. And that I looked at these as, I just want to test them. I want to see how they are. And if they suck, if I don't like them, then what have I lost? A few bucks. It's not a lot of money. Okay, let's talk about how you install these. The idea behind these thumbsticks is that you can put them on at any time if you play a game, and you can take them off. And for a lot of people, that's how you're going to work it, because for some games, it's going to improve the experience. For others, not so much. It might actually have the opposite effect. The idea behind these, though, is that you've got your thumbsticks and you just kind of hold the controller in place and then just push these on, like so. Like that. Now, there's a few things to note about this. Firstly, what I can see with experience is that this is the official Xbox controller, and this is clearly what these were designed for. And I'm sure it's the same story, you know, if you buy it for the PlayStation, you're buying it to fit the official PlayStation controller. But I have a third-party controller. That's the one that I've been using a lot here. And the thumbsticks are a little bit different. So it is a lot trickier installing these onto my GameSir controller in comparison to installing it on the official controller. So that's something you have to be aware of. If you've got a third-party controller like I do, it is a little bit harder to get them on. It's not difficult, certainly not rocket science, but you just have to play around with it a little bit more. It just takes a little bit more time to get it on, and it just doesn't go around the edges as easily. Probably because it's a slightly different shape, a little bit, you know, bigger or whatever. The other thing to note is that the mid ones are very easy to get on. The high is a little bit harder, just with the design of it. So you'll see this here, that if I put the mid on here, like so, very, very easy. But for these ones, it's a little bit harder. Now, I got it on there, but if I put it there, you can see that you kind of have to go around. Actually, I've got it backwards. The mid-rise wasn't on right there. And that's kind of how you have to do it sometimes, is that you put it on and it looks okay, and then you look at it from the side and it doesn't look right. But you can see there, I've put it on. So the mid-rise, definitely a lot easier to put on. A little bit harder with the high-rise, in my experience, generally speaking. And definitely with my third-party controller, it was a lot harder to put the thumbsticks on. Not difficult, but you just have to spend a little bit more time trying to push it in. So that's it. That's all you have to do. And at any time, if you're playing a game where you don't need it, where you don't need that extra precision, or you find that it makes things worse, then you just take them off and then you go back to your naked controller. Over the last 3 to 4 weeks, I've been using these thumbsticks on my GameSir controller. They've been on my controller like 99% of the time. And I've used all of them. I've been switching between them every few days to get an idea of what I like and what I don't like. And I then took them off the controller to get an idea of what it was like going back. And that was strange. It was strange going back to just the regular thumbsticks after using these for a week or so. I had to kind of readjust back to not having them. But then I went back and I started switching between them again. And I did that because, one, I'm used to using them now, and I wanted to get better at using them. I do think you have to put some time into using them. But I also wanted to kind of consolidate my initial thoughts on whether I like mid-rise or the high-rise for the right thumbstick, etc. I will say the mid-rise is probably quicker to get used to because you're not adding as much height. So certainly if you're kind of cautious, you might want to go for one of the KontrolFreek packs, which has 2 mid-rise. It's just a little bit easier because it's not as, it's not as big a change to your controller. So I've got the Call of Duty multiplayer firing range up here, and I've got an assault. Now, with like an assault or even an LMG, you can see right away, this is something that's true of all the different guns, is that the left thumbstick is a lot more fun to use. It just gives you that extra range of control there. And I think for all the different guns that you use, and once you get used to it, and it does take time to get used to it, but once you get used to it and you know how to adjust, it is quite good to use. It just gives you that extra level of control when you're moving around. Now, the right thumbstick, I think that's where mid-rise and high-rise becomes an issue, and that depending on the gun that you're using or your style of play or how you've configured the gun, your experience may be a little bit different. Once again, I think the first time I played with an assault with the high-rise, I was not as good. And the reason being that I had too much control. I was kind of pushing up the way too much, and I just wasn't controlling it correctly. Now, it's kind of hard to explain this, but what it feels like is that you've got your regular controller here like this, and say this is your range of motion. When you have the thumbsticks on, the mid-range kind of feels like the circle's bigger, and with a high-rise, it kind of feels like it's even bigger again. Now, that's obviously not happening. The range of motion is the same, but because the thumbstick is higher, the same movement on that, you can just control it a little bit differently, a little bit with more precision. And you can see how if I move it just, like 5% on that controller, I'm moving it a lot, whereas this one, I have to really pull it over to get to the same position. So there is an adjustment period, certainly with the right thumbstick. With an assault, a mid with a high, it works okay, but I do think for an assault rifle, maybe mid would be my personal preference. Now, if I change to an SMG, it's a little bit different. But what I do want to point out as well is that when you've got these thumbsticks on, it is a little bit harder to reach the top buttons. So if you want to check the scoreboard or change your settings, you have to do a little bit more thumb gymnastics just because these are so much higher. But if I change to an SMG, I would say that this is where the experience is worse. With an SMG, perhaps with a pistol as well, because you're close quarters, because you don't need to be as accurate with your shots, certainly not at range. You're kind of sprinting up, spraying them close up. And this is where a high rise, I don't think it helps your gameplay. I think it makes it worse. With a mid rise, yeah, I think that the default naked thumbstick without a KontrolFreek thumbstick, I think would probably be better if you're always playing with SMGs. That's how I felt with SMGs. I feel like the high rise is making me worse. It's just a lot harder to control. Mid range might be a little bit better, but certainly with the high rise, it's more difficult with the SMG. I'm still trying to adjust to it all, but I think the assault rifles were a little bit easier to manage with the mid and the high. Now, to go to the other extreme, go to a sniper. This is where the high rise really comes into play, and it just gives you that extra level of control because I can really go up that. And I'm at the firing range just now, but when you're in a game such as Warzone, and obviously it's very sweaty, everyone's getting the snipers out, that extra level of control can come in very, very useful. And yeah, I think that's where you really notice how good the high rise is. So if you're in Warzone or a game like that where you're doing a lot of kind of long range shooting, this is where the high rise comes into play because you've got that extra control, that extra accuracy. I think, you know, mid-range is probably the best, you know, as far as for every situation. But if you can get used to the high range, it's going to give you a benefit in a lot of games. If you, like a superpower, oh, I missed that shot. It's a bad example. I didn't breathe in. So yeah, so it's kind of a mixed bag in some situations. There is an adjustment period, and you have to be aware of that. If you're buying the mid-range, I think you'll pick it up a lot quicker. But if you're going with mid and high, then you're getting so much extra control with the right thumbstick that it's almost like putting your sensitivity settings too high, and that's kind of how you react. And that's another thing, you know. Yes, you have to think of the guns that you're playing with, how you've set up the guns, how you play yourself, and also how you've configured your controller. Because obviously in games like Apex and Call of Duty, etc., you can control how sensitive the controller is as well. So there's a lot of things at play there, but my initial experience of using them was that the mid-range are a little bit easier to pick up. The high range with the right loadout is really good, but it makes it a little bit harder when working with SMGs. That's a kind of blanket statement, because there are certain games where I've been playing with the high rise and I've done great with an SMG. And it's not impossible to play with the SMG. I just think that the high rise just makes it a little bit easier to play with the kind of longer range weapons. So yeah, I've had a positive experience with them, and I am going to keep using them at this stage. I want to play with them more. I want to get used to them more. And where this 26% kill death ratio increase is coming into play, I don't know how they come up with that figure. It sounds like a marketing thing. But these do give you more control. There's no doubt about it. How you know, control that control, what you do with that control, whether it helps your game or hurts it. I think just like switching from one controller to the other, you have to spend some time with these to get the most out of it, and you have to adjust how you play the game. So that is something that you have to take into account. I hope you all have a better understanding as to what performance thumbsticks are and how they can adjust your gameplay. Throughout this video, I have been talking about using these thumbsticks with a third-party Xbox Series X controller whilst playing Call of Duty. But of course, KontrolFreek make a host of different thumbsticks, and they make them for Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Steam Deck. They've got different colors, different designs, different feels here. Some of them are flat, some of them are kind of concave, convex, etc. There's a lot of different designs for different games and different types of games, you know, sports, action, adventure, first-person shooters, etc. I find it difficult to sit here and say you should all go out there and buy these, because these are not for everyone. And it's difficult for me to say, buy it, you'll love it, or you might not, you might hate it. I do think that this is a type of product that you have to go out, buy a few of these packs, try them, and put some time into it, maybe a couple of weeks of playing around with them to see whether you like them or whether you don't. And if you look at Amazon comments on these products, you'll find, you know, a lot of people saying something similar, in that, you know, some people swear by the Freek Galaxy, others don't like the high rise, and they prefer the mid rise, etc. And even within the game itself, there are situations where the high rise is my preferred option, and there are situations such as an SMG where the mid rise makes more sense. So even within the game, you have to adjust things. And a lot of this depends on how you play the game, what game you're playing, what your controller sensitivity settings are, etc. There's so many factors at play here, which is why I'm saying you would have to test them yourself. My own experience with these is that I've been using them for 3 to 4 weeks, and I still feel that I'm adjusting my gameplay a little bit. I do feel that my movement is better because of the mid-rise on the left thumbstick, but with the right thumbstick, I find that the high rise is really good in many situations. But if you've got a short range weapon, I feel that I've not adjusted to it as yet. I'm not saying I can't adjust, because I've been playing stakeout with an SMG with a high rise, and I've been doing well, but it just feels like more of an adjustment. So I'm still, you know, playing around with these, I'm still testing them, and I'm still adjusting my own gameplay. But at this point, I can say it's been fun testing them. I'm going to keep using them. And if you want to learn more, well, just go and buy some and see how you feel about them. If you've played with these before, I would love to hear your opinion on them. I'd love to hear your experience with them. As always, if you've enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel. But I think it's time to say goodbye. Thanks for watching, and until next time, take care.